got people who gotta get up tomorrow and go to work. Who gives a tonight? Now, this ain't nothing, no. This is genocide. It's good to see all you again. Take it to the...
You are destroying your life with that garbage.
Eat this.
I'm joined in the studio with Pete Doff. He's going to be chatting through some of the record selections that he's brought with him. We'll be doing that in a little while. We're here till 7 o'clock. I'm joined by Pete Doff. He'll be chatting a bit to me later on. He's already made several comments about my hair length since he's been in here, but I've never really been
crowdfunding to get my hair
sorry,
cut.
go on, I'll put you up for that bit. Go on.
So can we get a crowdfunding for get your haircut?
So it's what happened to me.
Like looking at Lenny Kravitz.
Oh god. I was fortunate enough to go to San Francisco last year to play a couple of gigs, and it's changed me. That's what's happened. I've never really been one that's been too precious about my hairstyles, but
You do look high Ashbury.
that's it. Exactly. Well, we stayed on the street just down from that Page Street. Turn one corner, and there you are in the thick of it. So, as I say, it's had an effect on me. So just whilst you're here, because you have to listen to it, I'm going to carry on with a bit of Jefferson Airplane.
Never trust a hippie.
Humble Pie with Natural Born Boogie, and I'm going to play one more song before I formally properly introduce Pete Doff. I know you've heard from him earlier when everything was going wrong, but I think we're on the straight and narrow now. So we're going to go through a selection of these records, but before that I'm just going to play one record that we talk about quite often. That obviously was Humble Pie, as I mentioned, which was Steve Marriott's band after the Small Faces, and the rest of the Small Faces, as a lot of you probably know, I'm not telling you anything new, went on to form the Faces. And this is a song that was the B-side of Stay With Me. It's a Ronnie Lane song. Sorry, I forgot his name then. Terrible. A Ronnie Lane song. And it's just a great, great song. And it doesn't need any more introduction, actually. We'll just listen to it, and then Pete will be up next. So that was the Faces with Debris. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the first guest to the Black Wax radio show, Mr. Pete Doff. Hello, Pete.
Good evening.
We have been practicing our radio voices.
We have, yeah. I've been trying to do me mid-Atlantic, but it ain't working out at all.
Ever since Pete's appearance on the Beeb, on the People's History of Pop, he has...
My appearance in Bushfair Underpass was much better.
So that was the Faces, which I think we both agree.
Oh, yeah. You've got to have a bit of Ronnie.
Good. And so a lot of people know you as I said earlier, Pete the Punk. That's what you were around town, but actually... having known you now for quite a few years and spoken to you about music, there's a lot more to all of us than what you see on the surface. And
I have many facets, may I tell you.
And one of those loves that we share is that of the Small Faces, of which Ronnie Lane and before that Steve Marriott were both part of. And this first song that you've picked, want to tell us about this?
There's very few songs I find that I can actually call beautiful, and this is pretty much the one.
God. Started already.
I'm an old softy,
So this was covered by the Small Faces, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
And I've actually got a version of it as well by the Spencer Davis group,
which are okay, but I don't think anything comes close.
I do like Steve Winwood's voice, but on the Small Faces version, I love
the same hair. That's
I love the what era?
1972.
Whenever Ark of a Diver, that's what I was going for. But he, on the Small Faces version, the hammering on the piano is what drives the track for me.
The Small Faces is just pure energy, isn't it?
But this is probably is this the original? I know.
I'm not entirely sure. I thought Motown bought this.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was on an independent originally.
Right. Okay.
I think I might be wrong.
I don't know the history of it, but I know this version. This is Brenda Holloway, and the song we're talking about is Every Little Bit Hurts. So what we'll do is play it.
Indeed, you should.
So that was Brenda Holloway with Every Little Bit Hurts, the first choice from Mr. Pete Doff here.
A definite favourite, that one.
And I just had a message through. Apparently I need to turn Pete's vocal up, which no sound man has ever had that request. So let us know if you're hearing him okay. And so, yeah, that was a wonderful song. I think everyone would agree on that. And so, moving on,
Yeah.
We're still not going punk.
No. Well, there's more to me than that, But I grew up. I was the youngest of 4 kids, so came into a household already full of music. With my 2 sisters and my brother. So I just picked up on things. But I think the first thing I can remember really digging was Chuck Berry. But unfortunately, I haven't got that on vinyl anymore. But
you need big money to pick it
so
up
this
nowadays.
probably comes the closest, maybe, to that rock and roll sound.
But this says the Righteous Brothers.
Well, wait and see, kids.
But aren't they the Balladeers?
They are indeed.
But let's prove otherwise. Then this is what's this
Hit
song
them.
called? This is
Justine.
Okay, so the Righteous Brothers there with Justine, and there you go, blowing away the myth that all they did was soft ballad
Absolutely.
songs. Even actually, I think You Lost That Loving Feeling is a great song
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
And
Again, I love that one too.
There we go. Can't mock them. Actually, maybe I need to go investigate a bit more.
Maybe.
There might be a whole world of righteousness out there that I'm unaware of.
Like I say, I need to make a disclaimer about my vinyl because I haven't played it in like 20 years, so they could, make all sorts of weird noises. So I'll get that in now. But sadly, there's so many gaps in my vinyl collection now. It's a shadow of what it used to be. And so I've got a lot of good stuff missing. So
That's all.
but luckily, I've got Justine by the Righteous Brothers.
Exactly. What we've had so far is rather kicking. And carrying on with that, do you want to say anything about this one?
Yeah. As you all know, like the 60s, everyone is the Beatles, the Stones, and all the usuals. But I really like the stuff that doesn't get discovered too much,
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, Kev Hunter, brought The Creation to my attention, and they just blew me away. Particularly this track because the guitarist is my hero, Eddie Phillips. Proper good noise.
It's great the way that it starts with that guitar.
Yeah,
and
well, he also used the violin bow,
bow,
didn't he?
Oh, really?
And Led Zepp got all the credit for it, but it was Eddie Phillips.
And that's where it came from.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
Eddie Phillips.
Less said about Led Zeppelin.
Eddie
Stuff's
Phillips.
the best. So here we go then with Making Time. This is The Creation. So that was The Creation with Making Time. You're listening to Adam Smith's Black Wax radio show on Phoenix Community Radio. It's 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. And I'm joined by guest Mr. Pete Doff. If you are listening again on the playback, then skip the first 15-20 minutes or so because there's all sorts going wrong. Probably best what I'll do is I'll post up on the internet when Pete's section starts and we'll just drop in from there. No, there were some good songs. It started going all right. Anyhow, that was a selection from Pete, and up next, Pete, we're going from a compilation.
Yeah, again, harking back to these undiscovered 60s songs. Like I say, I really delved into it in the 80s, just sort of checking it all out, freak beat, garage music, and I come across this track, and it's absolutely bizarre, and it's probably the greatest record of the 60s, because it was written in the time of, like, the Love and Peace era, and it's called I'm a Living Sickness, and, well, make your own minds up, but I just think it's amazing.
Let's go. Well, that was nice and noisy.
Oh, of course.
So that was The Misunderstood, and that was Children of the Sun.
Shocking record, really. I mean,
With a
it
title
sounds
like
like a hippie title, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so violent.
It
It's,
should be like The Fifth Dimension or something like that. It's one of their records. Sure.
But no, that's a corker, that. It's got so much feedback in it, and it's so aggressive. So
Very good. Right,
that pushed all my buttons.
we're going to this one.
Yes, this is
It's from it says 1971 on it. Are we stepping into the
We
new
are.
era?
We are now in polyester flare territory. But my dear old dad, God rest his soul, I nicked some of his records, and this is one that I remembered as a child that I loved. And again, a little bit bizarre, but Burundi Black, I believe it's called.
Okay, we're going to leave it there with a little bit bizarre. Make of it
Indeed.
what you
It's
will.
what I do best.
I'm sure I'm not alone in wondering where the rest of the ants are. And
Yeah.
and Adam himself.
Do you think Adam Ant might have had a copy of that as well?
I mean, more the Glitter Band. Someone's taken some.
We're allowed to
influence from
say
there,
Gary Glitter, or is that banned now?
but- Yeah, no, you can say it.
Well, as you know, we both have a deep love of glam rock, don't we?
Tarnish me with that. I like the Glitter Band. And
That's
from
not what it
I've
said on the
got
toilet wall.
to- Right, moving on. Right, glam pretty much is going to be the direction we're going to take in a bit.
In a bit, yeah.
But something else is going to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, one of my other childhood loves was my older sister's, was into ska, Desmond Decker and Prince Buster and everything, so I heard that from an early age. And, so reggae was never strange to me, I always kind of dug it, so...
But there's, I'm not going to give a history lesson. Everyone kind of knows.
Yeah, pretty much.
Punk before there was punk, they used to listen to reggae or whatever was available because there wasn't any punk records. So isn't it how Don Letts got involved with the punk scene and the Clash ended up hearing stuff like that? Because
I think the conclusion came that there's only two types of rebel music in the world, and that's reggae and punk rock.
Yeah,
everything else isn't really, particularly heavy metal. But.
So let's hear it then. This is
it's so good I covered it.
Really with.
Antibodies. This was on our album, but it's regardless of that, this is just a great track, and listen to the words; they're very good.
So you can't fool me again, and this is
Peter
Tosh.
I'm not a Nazereth fan. I just want to get this over now.
Good. I'm glad you're admitting that as your one, because someone might have thought I've invited you in only to play my own records, but.
I say glam was going on in my childhood. That was the background, when I was playing in the streets. So, I've got no excuse. I've got a Nazereth single.
That's it.
Bang
as long
the rights.
as your head nods along to it and your feet tap along.
Who's
anyone to tell you otherwise?
You can't deny your thumbs want to go in your belt loops, can you? Really?
As long as that's the only place they're going. There's what was that? That was Bad Boy. There you go.
Well, there you go. Yeah, indeed.
Nazereth. And so glam rock was the kind of the music of the 70s.
It's my childhood music.
Pre-punk.
Yes, yeah.
So
it's still fun, and energetic, but
much better than the other kind of singer-songwritery pop throwaway stuff. There's bands that were playing with guitars on stage, being loud.
Yeah, I mean, it was the era, I guess, of like the great singer-songwriters. So you had all these large orchestras on stage, and I suppose looking back, glam was like a reflection of the 50s and 60s pop music. It was short, sharp, and
you can hear it in the guitar licks. And some of the songs that
it's
the
nearly
bands were covering
punk if you pushed it a bit harder. But like I say, then something terrible happened to me in the 70s, and then.
So moving on to the next song, then this is
what happened.
This is aptly from 1977. And do you want to say anything about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a child of punk, so here it comes.
Say something.
Help! Oh, I'll tell you what. Can we do some product placement?
Go on in.
King Do, Domino's, Five Guys, and I suppose I have to say Mr. Saver in Bush Fair, don't I? And I'd just like to point out I'm the Bart Simpson of Bush Fair, not the Bard.
Right, so we're just trying to cue one up. Sorry about that. It's I think I've got it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one I've given him, but
I don't really know this one, but I do know the label that it's on, which is a local label. It was a local. Let me stop that from spinning around. Which is on Stalkbeat Records. I played something from Stalkbeat on the first show, I think. The Gangsters, but that was a local.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the Gangsters as well. The Sods. I was lucky to sort of witness a few of the gigs of those bands, and but my big passion was the Epileptics, although they weren't strictly a Harlow band. I think they were from Dummo or Stalford, possibly,
but
local enough anyway. And they just blew my mind, and I was in awe of them, And
these were gigs that were taking place all around the town. They weren't just in one particular place, were they?
Yeah, there was no square per se.
Okay, so it's 3 square.
Yeah. So it'd be play barns, places like that. That's the thing with the square. It's been such a big part of my life, but I forget that there was a time before the square, and like there really was nowhere to go at all,
Yeah, so people were having to create spaces to put gigs on.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the DIY ethic of punk was happening there. So I mean, I guess post. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but post square, there's room for people to be doing that kind of thing. They're finding spaces, and I know where we are in the studio here in Phoenix in the town. There's a gig coming out as a collective called the Hit Cave, sorry. On the Hit Parade, a Hit Cave, who are actually putting a gig on in here. They found a space and they think it's suitable. And I think as long as people are doing that kind of thing, it's when people stop doing it altogether. As long as someone's doing something, then somebody else has got somewhere to go.
I have faith that people won't stop wanting to express themselves, and they never should stop expressing themselves.
No, and if we can take anything from the past, it's examples like this of local record labels and local gigs being put on.
It inspired the hell out of me,
So let's this is who are we going with? Sorry.
Well, I'll say when it was put out as a single, it was called The Licks as the band name, but we all know it's the Epileptics. I think the Epileptic Foundation got onto them and said to them, "Can you not use it as a name, please?" But I don't know if that was a reason for the singles change of name. But this inspired the hell out of me, and it made me want to participate, you know.
I'm hoping I've queued it up in the right place.
It's a dodgy one, but
let's give it a go. There we go, the licks with Hitler Still a Nazi.
it's all their fault,
And,
you know. That's what made me want to be in a punk band, you know.
Managed to get it at the start of the song.
I was impressed with that. Deeply impressed.
And that was on Stalkbeat Records, as we said. So, moving on to this next one, I noticed it's still 1977.
Yeah,
But I recognise the name of the songwriter.
Yes. Now, you probably know him as the lead singer of Dexys Midnight Runners, but I kind of prefer this.
I can imagine. Whatever it is, I've not heard it.
Oh, have you not? Oh, this is a real treat. This is the Killjoys and Johnny Won't Get to Heaven.
I can imagine whatever it is.
And this is
You
just
prefer it.
beautiful.
Let's go in the Killjoys. So that was Adamant there with Lady.
Pre-pantomime Dame.
Although we've already heard his drum beat earlier.
We have, now we've heard him in his original form, which I wanted to dedicate that song actually to my dear friend Bells, who we lost last year.
Yeah.
He was a massive early Antz fan like myself, and there you go. Not many people are familiar with the punk Antz.
No. I didn't know that.
That's as good as they got, you know.
Bless him. And
Yes,
then
indeed.
this next one is another dedication.
Yeah, I thought I'd keep on the dedication thing, you know, do the Tony Blackburn special. There's somebody missing here, and his name is Warlock.
That was Motorhead with Over the Top. And
I said I can't hear you.
You dedicated that to Warlock, but we all know now that Warlock's a mod. I've seen him. I've seen what he's up to on Facebook. Going to his mod dues.
You don't want to be saying stuff like that, you know.
He's sending out Northern Soul tracks to people. I've seen it on YouTube, posting it on Facebook. And
His metalness.
it'll always come through, won't it? He can do what he likes, really.
Well,
He's the Warlock.
when I first met him, I thought he looked like a casual, and I was like, I didn't want to know him.
Casuals have got hair.
I know, he had curtains and everything, and I was like, I don't know about that, but turned out to be the most amazing man ever. But,
Bless. And it is approaching Valentine's Day, so it's putting
Yeah,
on my
yeah.
heartstrings what you're saying to him there, but...
no, well, there's somebody else now. But
And that fits perfectly with this next tune, which is called I Don't Want Nobody, I Want You.
yes, and this is dedicated to the girl with the cold hands.
Let's talk after it. Just discussing there whether we was going to talk after this one or not.
We're
And then
so pro.
And then it ended. So that was, I hadn't heard that before, but I like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's-
go find a copy of that. Check it out.
Nice little raucous
See what
number.
else they do. And so next track that's been selected here is
Well, it's a fundamental. You've got to have the Stooges in your life at some point, and a massive lover of the Stooges.
of course. Saw the documentary. Now I went and bought it.
Yeah.
Finally, I saw you post about it. I thought I've got to go buy a copy of that.
It's
And,
all right. I really liked it. You know, I mean, I heard some of the criticisms, but there is no footage of them. You can't.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
And you can't get tired of seeing that shot of him spread out across the crowd.
Yes.
Looking over it. And it's the Stooges at the end of the day.
Well, the one thing I will say about the documentary is like the photo that they got together for which I've never seen most
Right.
of them. They were really good, and it's just that wonderful thought that in the middle of all that Woodstock flower and beads and hippiness, you had the Stooges, you know, and it's like they're always going to be great for me, you know.
Perfect. Let's listen to them now. Then this is
It's not really that well known
okay.
to the fans, obviously, but
Well, everyone tuning in, we'll get to know it now.
have
So,
some of this. is
Iggy and
what
the
I say.
Stooges, give me some skin. So Buzzcocks there with Breakdown. And we're going to move on then to something that you're describing as power pop.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of stick for liking Generation X and the rich kids in particular back in the day because they were in all the teeny girly pop magazines, you know, because they were kind of pin-up, new wavy bands. But I loved them. I didn't care, but I did get stick for it.
At the end of the day, as long as you're using your ears and you enjoy what you hear, that's my excuse anyway.
And also, I now own a Midure record, which I didn't realise.
Let's hear it. John Cooper Clarke there with that one.
Ah, the great John. I had the pleasure of supporting him at the Square, and words fail me, you know. I mean, I can still remember him arriving out the front of the Square because he was actually quite late, and
Oh, okay,
he was actually getting to the point where we thought, you know, he ain't coming, you know. All of a sudden, this black cab pulls up outside the Square, and this kind of Tim Burton character
Yeah.
kind of gets out, you know, and he's, all right, lads. You know, it's just like, it's on.
He seems like he's just the same as ever. I managed to catch him last year at the 100 Club, and as he's aging, of course. He's older than he used to be, but
and he gives it on a good. I mean, at the Square, I think he went on for well over 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, you got your money's worth or more. You know.
So we're moving on now, but going back in time.
Yeah, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to dance, and that should really be priority, I think, with most music.
Okay, let's give it a go then. If you're at home listening to this, get up. So that was the Kingsmen with Jolly Green Giant.
I was nearly tempted to play Louie Louie, but you all know that too well.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure that'll get a look in on this show at some point. So if you're listening at home, which or wherever you are, in the bath like Bev, then you've been listening to Adam Smith's Black Wax. We've got about 15 minutes left, and I've been joined today by Pete Doff, who most recently was performing as part of Antibodies. He's played in various bands prior to that. But what are we going to hear now?
This is our only vinyl release we ever had. It's released on a Canadian label called Choking Hazard Records back in 2007. Produced by Ant Chapman, and this is our only vinyl experience, man.
Okay. And this is Hymns for Dregs, and it's Antibodies. Zillows. It's not trying to be cool. But if you flip that over, it says something else on the other
Don't
side.
say it! Don't say it!
I'm gonna
I'll have you banned from Bush Fair forever.
Let's have a look. Earl Vince and the Valiants.
Fantastic, great record. One of my favourite bands of all time.
Fleetwood Mac, Man of the World. It's the same record.
Yeah, that was Fleetwood Mac, wasn't it, basically?
I don't mind Man of the World, actually. It's quite a nice song. We won't hear it now, though.
Well, I think somebody's going to get their head kicked in tonight. It's just that little bit more
suits you
fun.
a bit more, doesn't it? And so we are 10 minutes left, and I'm glad you brought this one with you because
it's a fundamental. You can't go anywhere without it. Really,
I made sure we played this song on my 30th birthday. I don't really remember it, but I knew it was on the list. And Paul Howard sang it. He came up and done this number.
Yeah.
And I'd seen him previously a few years earlier. He'd done it as a solo performance at an Attila Stockbroker do that he was putting on, and I thought it was great. I thought he sang it really well, and it's just one of those songs that I don't think I've heard a bad version really. There must be one out there, but
I mean, the thing that I had such a love-hate relationship with the Clash anyway. You know, I mean, for me, this is the highest peak they could get was right here. You know, with this song, and I feel that everything afterwards just went down the slippery slope a bit. You know, but so it was a love-hate thing. I absolutely adored them. They meant the world to me at the time. And then the more they become like the Rolling Stones, the less interested I become, but this is just...
It's a pinnacle, isn't it?
It's magnificent.
So I'm glad we've got time to fit this one in. This is The Clash with White Man in Hammersmith Palais. That was The Clash with White Man in Hammersmith Palais. You have been listening to Adam Smith's Black Wax, and I'm here every Sunday evening from 5pm till 7pm. And this week I've been joined by special guest Pete Doff, who has been selecting for the last hour and a half or so. Fine selection.
And we have maintained the same amount of listeners throughout, is that correct?
Yeah, well, when you start with 0.
That's my normal kind
I'm
of
not
crowd.
sure how often that thing updates, but there are people out there listening, and thank you for doing so. And if you missed any part of the show, you'll be able to listen again on a catch-up. I'll upload it to Mixcloud, and I'll post about it on Facebook and Twitter. You can search Adam Smith's Black Wax on Facebook, and Twitter is twitter.com/Adam J. Smith 1. I might try and make those kind of things a bit shorter and snappier, but if you want to find it, it's out there. So thank you, Pete, for coming in.
My pleasure.
I think there's many songs we haven't covered, so maybe we'll organise another time
we
as well.
We could be here all night, really.
And I'm hopefully going to be sorting out some other guests for the future as well. Maybe some live performances are on the cards. So all that is left now is to say see you next week from 5pm till 7pm on phoenixcommunityradio.co.uk. And this is Pete's last selection. Any passing words?
Behave yourselves and be nice to each other.